want to expand just a little bit on the randomness that I covered in the last video. Something that I touched on, but could have expanded on a little bit more, is using custom landing names as a way of getting random behavior. So for example, I click on here, landing one, landing one, landing one, because I always roll lots of ones, just never changes, landing two. So again, this is just like in the previous one where the loop landing name was a variable. You can do the same thing here where you generate a random number by whatever means. I'm just using a die roll. And then you jump to that landing. So you could have like a dozen different landings here. Each one of those landings triggers a completely different behavior. And this way you can get lots of behaviors of any kind, all completely random. And this can also work off of something rather than a random number. For example, the name of the token that triggered the thing. So Bob gets a different landing than Jane, than Jill, that kind of thing. So using these custom landing names and then jumping to them, you can get all kinds of conditional or random behavior. But someone had come into the Discord and they were wanting to trigger a random tile. So by stepping on this tile, you trigger randomly any one of a number of tiles. And there's no way to do that natively in Monk's Active Tiles. So they were working on a macro, but they couldn't quite get it across the line. And so I took a look at it and I figured out their problem, but also added some flourishes of my own to make it more dynamic and not just for that one situation they wanted to work on, but a general one. And I've included the macro in my module so that you can easily set up this random tile triggering behavior. So I'll show you how it works. If I have this token here, steps on the original triggering tile, it will be teleported to a random one of these other tiles. And it can be any number of these tiles. So we step on it, teleports to that one. Okay, again, it's random, so sometimes you get the same result. Just like that, okay? Very, very simple to set up. In the triggering tile, all you're doing is calling my macro, all right? So to get to the macros, go into the compendium, traps and puzzles. That folder won't be there. I created this folder for myself. Just look for TP macros. Go in here at the bottom of the list, trigger random tagged tile. And when you're calling the macro, you just include as an arg the name of the tag that is on all of the tiles that are in the random triggering group. And that's all there is to using the macro. And then for the random triggering tiles, what you do is you create one tile and you tag it, and then set up its behaviors. In this case, all it's doing is teleporting the triggering token to the tile, and then just copy and paste that as many times as you want. So for example, if I wanted more, Control C for copy, and let's paste one over here and one over here and one down here. And now there's a bunch more tiles that it can teleport to, right? So all you have to do is set up the original triggering tile and then the first of the random triggering tiles, and then you just duplicate them. For the setup of the random triggering tiles, you just under setup, you set them to manually activate because they're being manually triggered. And that's all there is to it. It's very, very simple, but you could have these tiles do anything. You'd have the tiles animate. You could have the tiles move a token. You could have the tiles damage things, and each tile does a different amount of damage, different animations, different sounds, whatever you want, all and located all over your map. And because the macro passes the information of the triggering tile, of the triggering token, sorry, to these other tiles, as you saw, they could say, teleport the triggering tile to me. So they know what token triggered the initial tile. They called them, that triggered the macro calling them. The original one that person was working on didn't pass that information. So all these random tiles had no idea which token had triggered the event. So I'd added that functionality in as well. So the innate functionality in Monk's Active Tiles for working with triggering tokens. Sorry, I keep getting those two T words flipped. So you can just work with triggering token, and it knows what that is. And so all of that functionality that you can normally use with the token stepping on, any of these tiles and triggering them, you can use that same functionality because the triggering token information from this tile gets passed to whatever tile gets called. So just a couple of quick things to expand on randomness. Hopefully you found this interesting or helpful. Have a good one.